I don't know, y'all. Welcome back to another Gdevelop tutorial. Now, if you think that you've seen me already post one about how to do a dialog box, you have. However, I did not fix my camera stuff, and everything was really blurry. If you, for some reason, want to see the original version, I'll put a link to it in the comments. Anyway, to get to it. So first off, you're going to want two objects at the minimum. Hold on, I'm going to set the grid to a little smaller and also make the lines more. So first off, you're going to want two objects. You're going to want a box for your dialog, right? This is where your dialog will actually be placed. You can put this anywhere. You'll probably want a separate layer for the text box. Put this on the text box. That way the text box can move on, stay on the screen while everything else moves on everything around. So move your dialog box however, whatever size you want. At the minimum has to be just a box. Personally, I like to put an outline on it so that when it's in there, there's an outline. Now you'll also need a text dialog. You'll need the text dialog to obviously be one layer higher than the text box. And you'll want to put that on the same layer as the text box though, not layer, Z order. You'll just want to size it up to that and then mess with the sizing until you get a size you want that you think looks good with your text box. I think this looks good for the text box size. So once you have that, you're going to want to do a few things. First off, go into your text and add a variable. You're going to want to name this variable whatever you want to name it. I personally just name it next, and you're going to want that to be a text variable. To do that, you're going to want to go to over here. So first off, at the beginning of the scene, start a timer cooldown. Then you'll want whatever activates your thing. So let's say the key is pressed for space, or whatever you want your interact button to be. Where is key pressed spaces? I can't read. Sorry if I'm going too fast paced, guys. Let me know and I'll try to slow down in future tutorials. Next, you'll want to, when you're doing this setup, you'll also want to check your timer. I personally use 0.3. And so at the minimum, I think that's all you need. There's also other things you can do in the game I'm working on. I have it set so that it checks if the behavior is activated of the player. However, in this scene, we don't have a player or anything to check for, so we won't do that. So space is pressed and Z cooldown. All right, we're actually going to use E. I'll get to that in a sec. So first thing you want to do, you want the timer to reset again. Then you'll want to change the text of the dialogue to whatever your dialogue is. Texting time. Alright, and then you'll also want to change the object variable. So you go to dialog, change the object variable, and then set it to, I don't know, you can do a number, you can do next one, whatever. Whatever works for you as long as you understand what's next. So you're going to want to build another event code. You're going to just paste this over, put this to space, as well as check for object variable. And object variable, what was I, dialog, next, and then whatever we put it as. I think it was next one. So you got that, right? So now whenever this activates, it's going to activate this once you press space and spin 0.3 seconds. And you'll want to change the dialog text again and all this all over again. And that's basically the gist of it. Cool, right? Then to end it off, I usually just have the next beat end, and then at the top of the scene, I create one of these for end. So space is clicked, and this is end. I would do all this again, except instead of changing the text, you don't need to change this either, although you want to change this to wait in case you don't want it to break anything later. This is where you would hide the text box. That's not what I meant. Hide layer. So you'd hide layer so that the text box can't be visible unless you want the text box to be visible. You'd also probably want to have it so that layers shows when you interact with the thing. And in my project, I also have it where the behavior of the player is turned back on in the end thing and turned off when you interact with the thing. So let's test it and make sure I did things right. If it works, what should happen is I press E and the text box pops up. The text box did not pop up. E was pressed. The cooldown. Oh, less than. Okay. You want to make sure that your thing is greater than, not less than. That would be a good thing to avoid too. Now we can test it. and pressing E, it's texting time. Hold on. I made a mistake here. Guys, I'm going to be honest. I've been messing around with it, and I can't figure out why it's not working. Every time I go in, Textbox pop up, it just skips right over the one. And it can't be the code itself because I checked with my other project. See, my code itself, it's exactly the same here, as you can see. You got the cooldown, you got the space, you got the variable, and it checks all that. And then you change the next, you change the dialogue, and you redo the cooldown. Let me try something. Okay, switching the cooldown to the bottom of the thing did not change a thing. I don't know why it's not working. This hypothetically should be working for you, because as I just showed you, this dialogue is here, and if I go into my game and show you that the dialogue works, see it works. See, you go over here, press space, it goes forward. Press space again, it keeps going forward. It doesn't skip through. So yeah, I don't know why it's not working, y'all, and I apologize. But since you're already here, I'm going to give some other advice that you could do and hope it works for you. If anyone knows why it's not working, let me know. You can duplicate the text and get your speaker tag, and you can use this speaker to say who's speaking. You can also make this smaller because it's a separate object. So let's say that. Change this because it's not the same thing. And then now, um, and you can change that to be like the middle of the box, whatever you want to do. And then you can go over here, and when you change dialogue, you can also change speaker of who's speaking. So you got Jackalow speaking here, and then like you got Tom speaking here, right? So you go in and it would hypothetically work. Why? Oh, I didn't make that part of the layer. You click E, it's Tom speaking, then Jackalow speaking. As you can see, it did change. Good thing I didn't make it part of the layer. Whoops. Yeah, that has been this tutorial. I apologize for the errors, y'all, and I hope that you do not experience the same errors. In the meantime, go create some games and have a fun time. Toodles, y'all.